behavioral change expert. I host this show every Thursday at 7 p.m. Okay, so today on the show, we have a very interesting couple, people I believe we will learn so much from them, and I will be introducing them. Please help me welcome Mr. Jeremiah DAVOU and VENMIRE.JEREMIAH, as they tell us about their marriage. The pair have been married for 10 years and they are blessed with 3 beautiful children. Welcome, Sir and Ma, to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having us in the show.
Yeah, we are also excited that you are here and we are going to be having this conversation together. Please, as we go ahead, before we start, I would just want you to introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about what you do, who you are, before we go ahead.
Okay, my name is Jeremiah DAVOU. Good evening, viewer. My name is Jeremiah DAVOU. Husband to 1, father to 3 children. I am a businessman, an entrepreneur, and also a trainer. I'm also a lifestyle coach. Basically, I help individuals and organizations to get into their peak in terms of performance and execution. And so basically that's me.
Oh, right. Welcome. Yes, Ma, let's get to meet you as well.
Okay, good evening, viewer. My name is VENMIRE Jeremiah. There's not so much about me. I'm a wife to this handsome young man beside me, and a mother of 3. I'm a lecturer, and that's it.
So what do you lecture, ma'am?
Okay, English. English language.
I have to lecture English today so that I don't get trouble. All right. So it is our culture, our tradition here that before we have the conversation, before it starts, we want to hear your love story, how you met, what was the attraction that pulled you together, and why you decided to settle together.
So who should start?
Anybody is fine.
Okay, so let me start. I think I first met her through a friend of mine back then in the university. We just greeted and passed, and there was nothing much to that. And then subsequently, every time I see her on the campus, I greet her and she doesn't seem to remember. So I have to reintroduce myself. I'm the person that met you with so person. She was like, oh, okay, then on this fateful day, she came to see one of her friends. We stayed off campus then in the university, and coming to visit, that was how I also met her again. And the friend was not around, and so I just said, okay, let me just keep her company. And that was just it, nothing much. Of course, then there was no, what will I call it, nothing to add to that, and so that was how the friendship just started. And of course, we're here.
You go from that day to here. Please tell us the story. We want to hear it.
You want to hear what again?
So what was the attraction?
Okay. So what attracted me to her? Basically, for me, I think I've heard stories about people of her tribe, and so for me, I'd already told myself I don't want anybody from that tribe. You know how we have long list of who you want and how you want the person and blah blah blah. To cut the long story short, I just said, for me, the most important thing I'm looking for is for a simple person. I don't want trouble. So I just want a simple person that will understand me, I understand her. No long story, drama, or whatnot, So that simplicity, of course, overshadowed the issue of tribe. It was not really something to really bother about, especially when I met that criteria I was looking for. I didn't even mind the tribe again, and so we just got along, and we're here.
Wow, interesting. Ma'am, can you give us your own side of the gist?
Okay, like he said, we met several times, and I'm good with faces, but I don't know why his case was different. I met him more than 3 times, and I couldn't remember that we had met before. He had to keep introducing himself. But then on this fateful day, when we sat in their compound and we started talking, I just found myself opening up to him like I knew him for a long time, and it had never happened to me before. And like that, it went on and on. Then there was this day we had an issue, but I don't want to go into details now because we're going to spend the whole day and we wouldn't finish. To cut the long story short, after the issue, I was in a relationship before I met him, and my experience wasn't good. So I had this perception about men that they don't forgive easily, they hold on to things and all of that. But we had an issue, not an issue per se, we just had a rift. And then when we met, I was trying to dodge him. But the way he just opened his arms, like nothing happened, I was shocked, I was wowed. And that was the attraction for me. He was forgiving. That was the first thing that attracted me. So, yeah.
Wow, interesting. Is he still forgiving? Does he still have that attribute?
Yeah, he does.
Interesting. Okay, so as you look back at your dating period and then into your marriage up until now, what are some things that have changed in your relationship? Maybe in terms of what you did, what you didn't do, things that you believed and things that you don't believe anymore that you are together. What are some of the things you have experienced that have changed for you?
Okay. I was telling him some time back that is it that he was pretending, because I was talking to the two of them, him and his friend. Is it that it was pretense? Was it a show that they took us out often? Whatever we asked for, before we even say Jack Robinson, just like God would say, I know the thoughts I have for you. Before we even think about it, they will go ahead. It's like they know what we want and they go ahead to do it. And I was like, what's happening now? There's some things that you need to like keep up. But you people are not doing it. You don't take us out as often as you used to. We used to have this friends forum. I can't remember. Since we got married, I don't think we have met up to 2 times. And this is 10 years on. So I'm like, what's happening? Was it a show? Or then they were like, life happened. They have to put food on the table. They don't have so much time like before, and all of that.
Wow, interesting. Yes, you want to add to that?
Yes, as she said, life happens. So for me, it's not like pretense or so. Even though I'm sure she was just joking when she was asking us that question a while back. And sometimes seasons change, responsibilities change, your perception of even what marriage is begins to change. The responsibilities you are being, faced with begin to surface, and lots of things that you have to think about that sometimes the taking out, going out seem to begin to go below some other priorities on the list. And you sometimes, honestly, I take out in my mind, So when I just imagine, how we go out and spend time, it will be as though we had actually gone out. So
when you're doing the imagination, are you at least doing the imagination with her? Is she there and both of you are fantasizing together?
So that's it. But then it's a dream, not even a dream. It's something that I know is very important. I know that very well. However, now I don't really like say, let's go out on a date, let's go and spend time. But once in a while, you just dash into one issue or the other, just buy some snacks, come home, that will be your meal and stuff like that. So it happens, but not in the magnitude I would love to. And then, to spend the length of time you would love to spend outside, you understand? And then, of course, for our friends, the demand on, in fact, sometimes we hardly meet. That's the truth, even as guys, So people are up and doing, traveling here and there, trying to make ends meet, busy with work. So it's a lot more difficult to say, okay, when I'm available, the other person is not available. We're like four. As I'm speaking to you, one is in Asaba already. He has been there for quite some years now. So you see the thing about meeting with friends. So most times when we meet with our friends, we meet for specific reasons, maybe business, maybe there's an action that needs to be taken pertaining to some things, that we hardly say we find time to, meet with them, our wives, and then go out and then just have fun. So honestly, it's something we need to improve on. I know, you know about that. But then that's what happened. So it's not really that we changed, but the environment, circumstances, the atmosphere, priorities, demands also came in, and things just happened.
I was listening. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, man.
Forgot a vital point.
Okay.
While we were dating, he always surprises me with gifts. Hey, I once died. And I love surprises, positive surprises. But since we got married, I don't know if he has done that more than Kai. Is it up to 2 times?
Nancy, but sometimes I go and close her eyes in the kitchen. That will be surprise.
Oh God, as if you're so funny. You know, when you talk about surprises and how much you love surprises and all this, I remember a preacher preaching once, and he said when he was dating, he would think of suya and just buy suya and bring. And then they got married. His wife took in almost immediately, and guess what? She had twins. So the next time they were, now he's thinking of feeding 2 children at once. He's thinking of this. Yeah, and it's like, okay, after we buy Pampers, So it does happen that, especially when children are young, that the challenges may increase and responsibilities may increase. However, we have to be deliberate about making those creating that time. It may not be as frequent, but creating that time deliberately and having that. And I hope that if you are yet to be married, you are learning, because some of these things just happen. People hardly pretend when they are taking people out. It's more of responsibilities changing. They get more busy. Funny enough, our society is crazy. Once you get married, your responsibilities automatically go up. You feel like you are more reliable, you can be trusted, and also they give you more responsibility. And if you are not careful, time becomes a scarce commodity, even to spend with family. So let's look at.
Interestingly, I create fun. Sometimes in the house I just look for trouble. We run around. So.
What about the gifts?
I compensate.
What about the
gifts? Yeah, but also the fun is a great thing. Yes, to have. I mean, it's beautiful for children to grow in that environment where there's no tension. You find your parents playing and laughing, running around. It creates amazing, fantastic memories for them. Okay, so let's look at belief a bit, because you were talking about things that changed for you when you got married, things that you thought were, and now that you are married, you now discover, oh, it's not like that. So let's look at some of the things you were thinking as a single. Oh, when I get married, this will happen, that will happen. And then you are married and you're discovering it's not as I thought. Things don't work the way I thought they should. Can you like give us a few of those things?
Okay, now for me, of course, back then, I got married in my father's house, so I was eating free food. I was eating free food. You know, I'm being catered for. I don't have to think about rent, don't have to think about my own clothing, my own food, and stuff like that. And so, immediately we got married, the ball changed. You know, the goalpost changed, and then it has to be me, you know, providing and then catering, and then also looking at the future, how the future is, you know, and how it would be, how I want it to be, and then start taking deliberate steps towards ensuring that we walk through the future. Now, of course, you would also agree with me from your experience too with people that sometimes you go in or you have plans before marriage. And then when you set in with the person, certain unconscious realities begin to play with respect to your goals. And so you would have to start struggling with, okay, we need to match what we have in our heads with respect to this particular goal. Then when it comes to, let me give you a simple example, the children's school, you have to now begin to think together and then look at what is important about the child's schooling. So even with the goals I personally have for my family, I would have to match with what is also in her head, you know, and sometimes the back and forth continues. Sometimes I would have to give in, sometimes she would have to give in. We have to teach each other on what we are looking at, you know, with respect to where to stay and stuff like that. So those are some of the changes that really had to happen for us, that we find ourselves as time went on begin to shift goalposts and begin to change our goals, begin to tweak here and there, just in order to meet up with the reality we find ourselves. So the basic thing is we have to be flexible, very flexible with all the plans we have. I can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so that's huge. Flexibility is vital in relationship. And you said something very key, that you had to teach each other what you wanted, how you wanted, so that you blend together. Now, many people are impatient to go through that learning process and to do that teaching. They would rather have conflicts, have arguments than teach, than educate each other on the things that are needed and what they can do together to improve their relationship. So I thought it was really powerful that you mentioned teach. It's huge. When we come together, we learn from each other. Matt, do you have anything that you thought marriage would be, and when you came in, it wasn't like that?
Well, he has basically said almost everything, just a little. When I got married, I came from a polygamy family where so many people I had a lot of sisters. I did things with my sisters, with my brothers. So I was used to eating together, sleeping together. I cannot sleep alone in a house. I cannot sleep alone on a bed, not to talk of alone in a room. And then when we got married, I was expecting, you know, the newly married euphoria. You want to do everything together. I thought after getting married, we would continue like that. We would eat in the same plate, would we would have our baths the same time, every, but reality hits me that it's not always like that. The time I want to eat is not the same time he wants to eat. And I love eating together. I'm not used to doing things on my own. And he is a one-man gang, at all. It was a tug of war. took me time to like adjust. This is not before. You're now married and you don't have to put your own interest above his. You have to merge it and come to a compromise and all of that. So it was really a tug of war for me at a point, but then I adjusted.
I can relate with that eating together from the same plate. Now, growing up, we used to do this traditional eating every Sunday. We put the food on the tray. It's rice, but we put it in a tray, like how we eat in our own place, and sit around the tray eating together. It was family. It was fun. I got my husband had to travel for a while, and then I was home. I would be hungry like this, but to cook and eat was a challenge because I was alone. I didn't want to eat alone. Sometimes I'll call my sister and beg her to come over, or I'll go over to her place so that I can eat, because I loved that communality. So I could relate with that when you said it was a struggle to say eat on your own. Like how do they do that? But it's something that I have learned to do now. I can eat comfortably on my own without the other person. Interesting. Yeah, so I want us to look at something else. So as a couple, what are some of the tough times you've had through these 10 years? Maybe one or two experiences you've had that has been a tough time for you, and how were you able to navigate it?
Okay, for me, one of the challenges I had with my husband is time. My husband doesn't keep to time. And me, from the kind of background I came from, my father would ensure that we're in school 1 hour before time.
Wow.
And then I met this man that is when it's, okay, if we have an event for, let's say, it's 8:30 a.m. Is at that 8:30 that my husband will go and start having his bath. So it was like, what is this? Me, I'm used to being there 1 hour, I'm seated, waiting. I don't care, even if it is, as long as I'm there on time, that's what matters to me. So it went on and on. We had some fights. It was really not good. But then with time, as time went on, I had to find a way. We found a way. Like sometimes when we're going to church now, once it's time, he's not ready, I'll just carry my things and I'll tell him, Oga, till you come, I'll go and keep seat for him beside me, and then he'll come and meet me. Or sometimes I would have to use wisdom and tell him if he doesn't know the time, I'll tell him that the time, if it's supposed to be 8:30, I'll tell him the time is 8 o'clock, so that I'll be able to meet up if I want us to go together. That's what I do. And that's how it's been.
Interesting. So you have any to share with us? Any hard time you've been through, sir?
Me? Yes. Okay, yes. I like processing things just within me, just me, myself, and I. So sometimes when we have misunderstandings, especially when I'm not around in town, because sometimes I had to leave just to Lagos, for work, and so I find it difficult to communicate with her when I'm angry with her on any issue, So sometimes it could take days, sometimes a week, 2 weeks like that before we start talking normally. So that for me was a big challenge for me, that I had to find a way to adjust, because yes, we could stay together, maybe we have a little fight and then we'll not talk, but then it will take a short while for us to get back, and then become, like the happy couple, yeah. But then when I'm away, that's when, but then of course with time, I had to tell myself, boy, you're not here alone, you're here with someone, and then regardless of the distance, you just have to find a way. So for me, that was one weakness I had, that I had to deliberately put it in check and work towards it. And I must tell you that she's very good at ensuring that it doesn't last for a long time. I don't know, maybe she doesn't get angry, or her anger is just for a short while, but honestly, she has played a better role in terms of getting us together after the disagreement than I have. That one.
It will mean that she's quicker to say sorry.
Yes.
Wow, interesting.
Yes,
you have just touched on some of the very common areas that couples disagree on: punctuality, difference in how we express anger and what we want it to be. I'm going to be reading the list, and then tell me if you fall into any of these, because they are very common. A lot of couples find that they have some of these differences. Difference in emotional expression. One person is more expressive than the others. Then there's difference in organization and neatness. One person likes the place to be orderly and neat, while the other would prefer, it doesn't mind some disorganization as long as it doesn't bother them, right? One person is more thrifty than the other. So one person is more willing to spend and the other wants to save more. Then difference in the need for time spent together and time spent either apart or alone. Then difference in punctuality, we've already mentioned this earlier. Then difference in our need for adventure. Some people want more adventure, while other people would rather be home birds, stay at home, and let's stay in unfamiliar territory. Why disturb the nest with the unfamiliar? Then we also have differences in optimal sexual frequency, and so on. So do you find yourself in any of these other classes other than punctuality and anger expression?
Okay, please, can you read them again? Maybe when you're reading them, we can interrupt you because
okay. Yeah. So differences in emotional expression. One person is more emotionally expressive than the other. Difference in how much time you want to spend together with your partner and against how much time you want to spend either alone or apart. Some people want to spend more time with their partners, like let's be everywhere together, while the other person prefers to be on their own, sometimes needs some kind of autonomy and independence within the relationship. Difference
okay,
okay.
I don't know. It's like I want to spend more time alone.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. And then, of course, when it comes to emotional expression, of course, we actually express our emotions differently. I can attest to that, And sometimes I am not as very expressive. I can give that to myself. I know I'm not that expressive, sometimes my emotions just shows up in just little actions, but to physically see it, you may not just get it. You have to be very, very good at reading to have me, have an understanding of what I'm going through.
Wow. So how has this difference?
So the reverse is the case for her.
Yeah, okay, so she's the one that is expressive. How has this difference played out in your relationship when things happen?
Of course, that would also tell why sometimes for me it takes a longer time before we settle any disagreement or any issue. You understand? Because I would love to be alone, process it alone, and then do all the back and forth in my mind, settle it in my mind before we settle physically. So of course that has also contributed in that. But for her, she'll just tell you, no, address it, and it's finished. Sometimes I'll be looking at her, suspecting she's still angry, only for me to wait over time and discover when she has expressed it, it has, it's gone.
So what is there to do again? We are together. We're in this. We die here. So what is it? The best I can do is to tell you, okay, this is it, and then life goes on. The next minute I will do as if nothing happened. But for him, he doesn't even want to call my pet name when we're not on the same page. You just say, you just stop. He won't call anybody's name.
Next point.
He won't call anybody's name. You just stop. For me, we can just find out. Just say, sweetie, can you do this for me? Husband. What is life?
Wow, interesting. But that would mean that at some point your relationship will also be fun, because when he's boning, you don't have anything in mind, so you can make fun of that, and make and then it's something that you share as laughter, right?
Yeah. Yes.
I hope when she does that, he doesn't feel like, what? Get out of here. He says next point. Okay, so
The third one is what?
okay, there's this one. I think she was nodding when I mentioned it. When we talked about neatness and organization.
Yeah. Very well.
Actually, it depends. Because I know she's good at that. It depends. For me. Okay, so when it comes to my things, I have a way I would love to keep them. So sometimes I keep them with the future use in mind. So I could have my system in the living room after work. I would love to leave them there because I am expecting that I'll come back and use it. And then, of course, when it comes to my things in the room, there's a process.
Wow.
You understand? A process. So after laundry, there's how the clothes should feel before I put them in the wardrobe. If not, I'll feel I'm putting them with the moist, and then it begins to feel like dampness or something like that. The way I fold my things, do you understand? So when I come back, in fact, when I come back, the way I would want to keep my shoes depends on how dirty they are. Sometimes I clean them before I keep them. Sometimes I just keep them. I'm tired. I just keep them and just move. So this one that she's doing, I don't know what because for me that's what is happening in my head. So if
Are you sure you're actualizing?
If she says anything to the contrary, that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
I wish you could even see how this situation is. I will arrange this place. You will come and scatter everywhere.
Hey, me.
You will keep laptop here, keep business. Visitors will come now. I would have to arrange everywhere. The next thing he'll come and scatter it again.
Let's
leave the sitting room.
I will arrange it the way I want it. It's not scattered.
Let's go to the bedroom. He doesn't like dressing bed. I will dress my bed. Oh Jesus, you will even want to lie down on it. Immediately I finish, you just jump and everywhere will just come out. When we wake up in the morning, I'll leave him in bed. When you come out, at least just take the net off. He will leave it. You just push one side and sit down. That's how he will leave it to. Even if I go out and spend 2 hours and come back, that's how I'll come and find it there. Or clothes in the room fall down. He will pass. He will just shift. He will just pass. He will pick it and arrange it. His shoes that he's saying, when he comes back, he put in the middle of the room. Then he will walk away. He will come in. I will sweep the carpet. I will mop it. Everybody will be looking fine. He will come from outside with wet shoes and just, oh my God.
Okay.
And then he will be hanging clothes everywhere. I'll come and remove it, put it in the wardrobe so that everywhere will look neat. He'll come and hang it here, hang it here.
Yes, hang it before I take. I told you that everything is processed. So I'll hang it first before putting it in the wardrobe when I am satisfied with the time is right for putting it in the wardrobe.
There are so many things that put in the wardrobe that he doesn't even know.
I'm enjoying this conversation. It makes me remember, I think it was our first guest. Yes, Dr. Prince Charles Dixon and his wife. His wife said that he would usually finish in the bathroom, bring the towel wet and put it on the bed. And the painful part initially was that the side of the bed he puts it is where she uses. So she would just move it to his side. Initially, she used to hang it for him, but later she got tired that she just moves it to his side. And just recently, now they've been married for like, I think 23 years or so. Just recently, he hung it himself. And she came, she said, wow, what a change of mind.
Okay.
What happened?
You see, talking about this towel, Nancy, before when we got married, we used one towel together. When my wife enters the bathroom first and comes out, that towel will not be spread, to just be left like that. You know, and then when I come to clean myself, I just find some of the places so wet, and so I feel this thing had not been aired properly. I had to tell her, because everybody making they use your towel. You carry your towel, carry one towel. Thank God we have plenty of them. So you carry one, I carry one, I carry one.
The spreading you're talking about is just from the time I come out of the bathroom and to oil my body and then wear my clothes. That's
now,
it.
Immediately you finish using it, spread it. Nancy, is that not what is supposed to be done?
Well, in your village, let's say that's in the tribe of people like you, it is done immediately. In her tribe, it is after dressing and hanging. But you see, the beautiful part from this conversation that I'm learning is that you learned to let go of some of these things, not make a big deal out of it. For example, when the one towel thing was not working, you decided to get two. Everybody have yours and then use yours. Now, I wish that a lot of couples will learn how this flexibility we're talking about. If this is not working, we change it so that it works for us, instead of blackmailing or blacklisting our partners, calling them names because of that. I remember a lady reached me and she said her husband has been calling her dirty, that so dirty. And guess what his reason for calling her dirty? She hadn't cleaned the back of the freezer for a month. Not inside the freezer, not on top of the freezer, the back, the parts almost touching the wall. She hadn't cleaned it for a month. And he went on the phone, called her mother and was saying her daughter is so dirty, she's irritating, she's that, she's that, she's that. I think that that's where people get it wrong. Every couple we have interviewed, every couple that I know personally, those that I've met, those I've worked with in coaching, have differences. The challenge is how we manage them, how we navigate through these differences. If somebody is neater, yes, somebody is more punctual, but what do we do to build those gaps? Sometimes it's annoying. We really get angry, but we are able to find a way through that. So I'm so happy.
And then Nancy, she didn't tell you that when water sprinkles on the floor in the kitchen, I used to mop it for her.
Thank you for bringing that point. It's only in the kitchen or he will mop. In the bathroom, after taking his bath, he won't mop it. It will be spilled with water. Then I'll ask him, okay, why is it that you're always cleaning the one in the kitchen and not cleaning the one in the bathroom? That the mop stick in the bathroom is very small and it's always wet. So I now changed the mop. But the situation didn't change up to this day that I'm working.
The one in the kitchen has been consistently done, right?
So why is the room change?
Well, this is interesting. You know, getting people in to have these kind of conversations and be dishonest, so that people that are coming into marriage don't think that it has to be a certain way to be okay. It's okay. It's normal for people to talk about this. Like you can have people even bicker about a lot of things. I remember this research that was done by Harvard. They said it's the longest research they had done on what makes people happy. They started with young men when they were in their 20s and followed them right up to their 80s. And they discovered one consistent thing, that those that had found love and maintained it through the years, their relationship were happy, were the ones that were most satisfied, not the ones that had more money and all. And then the researcher said something really key that I wanted to tie with what you are saying here, is that it didn't matter whether they argued frequently or they didn't. It didn't matter whether they had this kind of conversations that you are having or not. What matters is that deep down, they knew that this person was somebody they could rely on, somebody that they could look up to when situations went bad and get support from that person. Once they knew that, they were healthier, they had less illnesses. Even those that were challenged with one illness or the other, their process was easier. They experienced less pain because they had that kind of relationship. So if you are single or you are just getting married, it's normal to have this kind of interactions. My children will look at me and say, Daddy and Mommy, they started again. When you have these kind of conversations. But it's all part of it. It's all part of the love. It's all part of the fun in the relationship. I mean, it would be boring if everything was straight jacketed, packaged, and all. So I want to ask you, like, I know that in my relationship, we have non-conventional roles, things that people outside, like if you hear a preacher preach or a marriage counselor like myself talk outside and we talk about those things, we would attribute them to specific roles. A woman does this, a man does that, and all. But I've come to also discover that when people get married, they have some unconventional roles, some switch, things that in the normal thinking of people in our culture is a man's role, that they find that in that home, it works better when the woman does it, and vice versa, it works better when the man does it. So I want to ask you, in your relationship, do you have this kind of roles?
Okay, at first, when we got married, I had the notion that, okay, I was already schooled right from home that I'm supposed to be the one to wash my things and my husband's things as well as the kids. But when we got married, my husband would wash my things and it was not a big deal to him. The only thing is the fact that he would love to pile it before he will wash. He'll leave it for some weeks. For me, I love washing every day. So, but with time, I adjusted things, house chores and all of that. I had so much engagement, so I'll just leave the clothes and then leave it for some weeks. Then at some point, he will just compact it, my kids, even my cousin that lives with me, he will just wash them. He doesn't have any issue with that.
Wow.
Even to fetch water. When I need water in the house, I'll just tell him, please come and help me. You fetch water, feed everywhere, and that's it. All I need to do is just to ask. That's just it. There's no specific rule that there has to be a man to do this. No, it has to. The only thing I know that he doesn't do is he does not. I don't see him wash plates for me. I can buy the plates and leave there. He will not wash it for me. I don't know why, Sha. Maybe you tell me today.
Okay, so I'm a second born. I have an elder brother, a younger brother. Then the last two are twins, which are the ladies. So growing up, there was no work for the ladies, work for men. No. We washed plates, went to the well, fetched water, we swept the house, did everything that, whether regardless of whose responsibilities, whether a male or a female, we did everything. So doing all those things, they are really no big deal to me. Sweeping the house, I just feel things need to be done. Let's go ahead and do them. There's no gender rule. The only thing I know that I don't usually do as much as I do before is maybe cook and then wash plates. Not that I don't know how to cook, but I don't know why it's beginning to be a big deal, like a heavy duty work for me to cook. Probably maybe because I had lots of things to also think about, that cooking is secondary. And for the plates, I sometimes when the spirit leads, sometimes I wash, but I know most times I don't. And for me, I feel probably the environment, or let's say the situation of the sink does not give me, like, it's not the way I would want it to be, to have myself washing the dishes. But honestly, washing dishes is no big deal to me. It's no big deal. And if you ask her, sometimes I am alone in the house, Of course, they cook some little soup, I prepare my food, I wash my plates, you understand. So, but then when they're around, help is around. So I don't know, I just don't find, I don't find myself doing them as much as I used to do before. So basically, and of course, if I wash plates, now if I wash plates,
He
oh my
hasn't done it.
God.
I've not seen.
If I wash, hey.
Maybe I'll give you this.
Brighter than the new ones, right? Okay, but fantastic, because you are doing something that helps really, like washing clothes. Man, for me, if there's any house chore I absolutely do not like, is washing clothes. If you can remove those from house chores, I am good. Like, I am great. So I would personally, I'm sure she does appreciate it. I'm sure she does too. That I have somebody that washes clothes. Woo! Great, fantastic. You know. So, like, what activities, right? What activities do you enjoy doing that your partner does not share? They don't enjoy doing this activity with you. Is basically your thing. It can be a
Well,
hobby, it can be adventurous, anything.
I honestly have really not taken note of that too.
He doesn't like visitation. I love visiting people.
Yeah,
Woman of the
I'm
people.
I'm
Doesn't love visiting people.
I'm a one man gang, so I love my I love my space.
Me, I love
So how have you planned this thing so that it doesn't become an issue? Because I know some people that will quarrel over not visiting. You are not visiting, I'm not visiting. So how do you
Anybody that complains that I don't visit them, I don't really see. I do try once in a while. For people who understand me, even when we don't visit, we have quality conversations that they would know that, okay, I really, really do care. Just that I don't come to them as much as they would want me to. And for me, I don't really have any issues with anybody. Part of those things that I would love to think of, and for me, it's always open. Whoever she wants to come visit, she can go.
So when it's time to visit, somebody's in the hospital, someone is bereaved and all of that. When I'm saying let's go, and he's not just looking my way, I'll just let him be and I'll go on behalf of the family.
She does the job for us, so she's doing well.
Really interesting, because that thing of socializing is different for all of us, and I think that's one of the differences that people also have, that some people are more sociable, they want to connect with people and be there and even show that they care, because like going to the hospital, visiting this someone who is bereaved, it shows that I'm with you even in this place and all. And it's beautiful that you found a way that she does it, you don't do it, and our listener out there. So it shows that it's not abnormal to have an activity or to have something that you love to do that the other person doesn't love to do. As long as you have the ones that you love to do together and you maximize the time you spend doing it, then everybody is free to have something that they do that they don't share with their partner. For example, I love to hike. My husband rarely. The only time we have anything close to hiking is when we go on walks and we have to climb rocks and all. But like joining a group and hiking with a group is thing. I do it, I come back, and then we have fun. We have other ways of connecting. And it's so okay. In fact, it's even healthy because it allows you to connect with other people other than your partner, to have friends outside the home, which helps to strengthen your relationship. So finally, before we go, I want to ask you if there was, as you look into the future of your relationship and all, what are some of the things that you would want to see more in your relationship? Some of the things you are working at, dreaming together to achieve as a couple.
I'm waiting for her to answer first.
I'm still processing.
She's still processing. Even me too, I'm still processing. So what do we do now? Okay, well, for me, more fun, live a healthy life, not to be hindered by anything. When I say anything that has to do with our well-being, and experience of life, exposure to things that are, out there, traveling together, not finding any reason to be hooked by any job or any circumstance, or to be deprived the expression of life by the lack of something or the mismanagement of something. So I would love to explore. I would love to explore. I would love to have them travel a lot, see places, see things, see how people's way of lives are, and then just coming to just reconfigure our own to make it more pleasurable. That's just what I want us to do, to have that kind of experience where we explore the world.
Wow, interesting. You want to add anything, Ma? I saw you nodding, as in you love the travel.
Adventure. I love adventure. I love traveling. In fact, this marriage has pinned me down. I used to travel a lot.
You want to go back to your father's house?
I was listening with somebody last week. I was like, I used to travel a lot. I love traveling. I love visiting places, adventures, vacations, and all of that. But now I have to be in one place for family. Very important.
Don't worry, I'll take her. Don't worry, I'll be taking her around.
So I'm hoping we would go on all those adventures together as a family.
Interesting. As you talk about traveling and having to cut that, I also remember when we got married, my husband and I were together for 2 years before I took in. So it was fun because we could travel. There was a time he was working elsewhere, and I would just call him on the phone and say, guess what? I'm on my way, and then I'm on my way, and I'm there. Voila, I'm here. Then I had a child, and I had to stay put one place. I stayed. By the time my daughter was like 2.5 years, I had the second one. So it was no travels, as in stay home, stay with kids and all. So yes, for me, I could relate to that, wanting to have more adventure. And I want to recommend that as couples, let's try to have more adventure, especially as our children grow. Create avenues like our couple have just dreamt about, travel, have fun, enjoy life beyond just being family, beyond just staying at home and raising children. It is really, really fun to do. So finally, before you leave, what do you think about rings that bind? Do you have any recommendations for us or ideas for us?
Okay, well, for me, I think you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job. I appreciate the fact that you're looking out to push out examples of marriages that work. I think one of the first advice any couple is being given when they're about to get married is you have to be patient with each other, as though you're going for a walk. It's not like that. It's not always like that. Yeah, there are differences, there are things, but then you have to create your fun as you navigate through that, which is what you're trying to do. I don't know how possible it will be, but even if it means you bring in people whose marriage didn't work, think of that. If they're willing to come together, fine. If they're not, you could just bring one partner and then bring the other partner separately, just so that we can also learn from their own perspective, so that some of us will also learn and see how they can avoid the obstacles they have gone through. Because I'm sure lots of people whose marriage didn't work have found a way to have a fulfilling life as singles, as separated couples. So we would love to also hear from them to know what has happened, what difference, what would have done differently, just to encourage us and to make the institution a lot more better, because we need those examples too. But you're doing an awesome job. Means that fine. Well done.
I love that advice. We'll look into it. I hope that we find people that are willing to come and share their story. In fact, I think it would be really beneficial if they have grown to the point where the both of them can sit together and talk about this from retrospect. So it's really powerful. We'll search, and I hope we find it, even if it's one or two that are willing to come and tell us their story, their experience. Thank you so much. Ma'am, you have anything to add?
Well, I just want to say thumbs up to you for what you're doing. It's really helpful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mrs. Jeremiah, for being here, for sharing your story and making us laugh. It was fun. I enjoyed the conversation. We had a lot of laughter. It just gave me a sneak peek into what happens to your home, in your home, the laughter, the fun, and all. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today. And of course, we learned plenty. We had plenty learnings. It's just that I like fun, so I had to mention.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us too.
Yeah. And listener, we thank you for being with us through the show today. But before we go, I want to say on behalf of the team a very big happy birthday to Mrs. Buki Edevo. She turned 50 today. Happy birthday, Ma. We pray that the next phase of your life will be even more beautiful, that you enjoy so many beautiful things. You will rest from your labor and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Have a beautiful celebration. All right, so we bring it to a close today. Next week, we'll be having another interesting couple, and we'll definitely have things to learn from them. So stay tuned with us every Thursday, 7 p.m. as we do this. Okay.
Down.
Which account should I send to you for putting us on this short notice?
Tell him that it's too late because you didn't have the agreement before the program, so it's too late.
It's too late.
You think you just bring me? What?
I said